all these things you're saying, these are recurrent things. I mean, from your time, in our time, it has things that have been going on. But I'm encouraged with the leadership Emmanuel Abdullah Safai is showing. So these are some of the things I think that they put in place, and I think I really admire it, because now some of our brothers, for example, who are ex-players, they've got their license, some of those CAF A, CAF B, but we are also empowering our brothers. And on the financial side, or also for the economic side, you have, for example, I just read a report that we say if the Premier League commences in 6 months, it will create, directly and indirectly, it will create about 1,000 jobs. You understand? Because players will be employed, people will be selling merchandise, merchandising, marketing. Most importantly, you have people playing the game, and the love of the game will be coming back. It will be a little bit of economic boost in that direction. So I think all is not lost, but of course, there are challenges, like the Premier League chairman said yesterday. There are challenges. Some of the clubs have not fulfilled those challenges, but they are moving in that direction. And the Premier League board chairman has made sure that every club that is going to get a cut from what was donated, or what was the fund that was provided for the Premier League board, every club has to fulfill some of these conditions. Now we can talk about how structure. I mean, whether it's class A structure, class B, whatever it is, but some of these things have to be met.
Okay.
So in that regard, I'm optimistic. Let me just leave it for there, and then we'll continue discussions.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that, Paul. I was going to get, but I guess the conversation took a natural course from response, and then of course statement, and of course your response. So I let it flow. I love it like that. Only thing is, I wanted to preface what we were going to talk about in terms of Australian football with a general overview of your opinion on football management at a global level, and of course at other places that you've seen over time. But no need to belabor that. Obviously, we went straight to the issue at hand, which is the launch of the Australian Premier League. Like you said, for me, with a pinch of salt and sugar, we'll see how things pan out and how things are headed. Now, for me, I had opportunity to respond to someone on social media the other day, and talking about the issue of the same conversation we're having here. And I told I was basically addressing the issue of sponsorship in this case, and I was addressing the problem because this is something I've talked about in other programs with other guests who were higher up in, I say higher up in the sense that they've had a lot more vast experience in terms of sports management across Africa, and this is something that we've talked about. That's the issue of sponsorship. The issue of sponsorship and also of media issues with sports in Africa. The reason why our people flock into European leagues, and it's like European leagues are the holy grail of sports in Africa. People drop everything they do to go sit behind a TV to watch the English Premier League or La Liga or the Bundesliga, depending on what their preference is. And like I said, I've always said, I don't have any issue with people having, sharing their time between, those international leagues and, our local leagues. But when you have no focus whatsoever, when you talk about our local leagues, people just give you that eye, or just look at you like, yeah, right. Yeah. So this is the issue. The issue is, how do we leverage ourselves as well, first of all, Sierra Leone as a nation and the rest of Africa, to bring ourselves up to par in competing with I say competing. I use the word competing because I believe we can compete. A lot of people just, I personally have never devalued myself to anyone whatsoever in the world. I don't care who you are, whatever country you're from. I've never devalued myself to look at myself as a less than, because I know I'm capable just as much as anybody else in the world. I'm flesh, blood, and everything else that anybody else is in the world. The only thing is access to opportunities, and I believe that that's the approach we should have as people, as nations, and So for people to overvalue something foreign and not value what they have within their own countries speaks a lot about their self-esteem as individuals. It speaks a lot to their self-esteem, because you ought to look at that and say, you know what, we want that here. That same system right there, we want that, or even better. We can even make it better, So I was addressing the issue of sponsorship, and that it has to do with trustworthiness and lack of. We'll talk back again to the same issue of lack of systems and structures. When you have a global sportswear brand looking to say, okay, well, we want to sponsor the Leone Stars, what is a guarantee that sports brand is going to get the bang for their buck in terms of saying the right exposure and the money spent the correct way to enhance the team's performance, to enhance the images of the players, and put the team at a point where that brand will say, when they wear their clothes or their outfit and their logos on their chest, and they go out there, people look, oh yeah, that's the Leone Stars. Globally, not just for Sierra Leoneans, but globally, they will look at that team and be like, yeah, that's the Leone Stars. That's that team we're talking about, But so when you don't have that, you don't have the guarantees for that. Brands are not going to come towards Sierra Leone. They're not going to come towards Liberia. They're not going to come towards any of those nations whatsoever. They're going to go where they're going to get the bang for their buck. So that's the reason why, out of 54 countries in Africa, you have less than 10 or 12 countries that have a global sportswear brand kit deal signed. That's one issue. And then you talk about exposure. We'll talk about exposure. Basically, what I mean by that is the media aspect. How many of our sports leagues and clubs that we're talking about now, these clubs that we're talking about, have media persons that's responsible to handle not just social media. I'm not just talking about social media. We're talking about someone who can write a press release and put it out about the club's activities. We talk about someone who can operate a website in terms of that club and who can build profiles of each player and put them out there.
We have social media press officers, but not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When we talk about media,
not those trained actually who have been trained as press officers like we see in leagues around the world.
Right.
After every game, there's a press officer coming, maybe moderating the
right,
press conference.
And basically not just that, but runs the actual media operations of that team to make sure that that team has so much more to offer to the fans. Because now let's get this: the stadium can only hold 30, 40, 50,000 people. Where's the rest of the world? Where's the rest of the country going to see the game at? Where's the rest of the world? Where's the rest of the world going to experience that opportunity to see those players on the ground?
Yeah.
What happens there?
Yeah.
Because that's how you connect to fans, and then because a fan at the end of the day pays the bills. Let's not forget that. Because at the end of the day, what the fan spends is what pays the bills. We can sit there and say,
I mean, it is about the economics of the game, right? It's about sports. The sport itself is an economic. It's a business.
It's a business. It's a business.
You understand? And in as much as we're talking about the structure across Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I was having the same argument with somebody the other day, and he said, why should government give the Premier League $2 billion? And why don't they go to the private sector, and let people invest in their, let them go to communities, let community invest in their leagues like they did before. Like Cambo Eagles was owned by Kenema, Bo Rangers was owned by Bo, Kono was owned by Diamond Stars, Sarah Fisheries was owned by Fisheries, Port Authority is owned by Port, that kind of thing. And I said to him, I said, I understand you're talking about this. I said, but let me ask you, how many years have we played league? How many years have the league been absent in Sierra Leone?
That's it. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
What about the economics on the ground? Let's put the league aside. Let's see how many foreign companies are investing in Sierra Leone. Who can say, okay, in the days of Sierra Leone, you go to Sierra Leone and say, okay, we want a partnership with Sierra Leone. Can you sponsor, for example, we are Republican. We have your logo on your shirt and everything, and by year we get a sponsorship of, say, I don't know how many million. I mean, and then if you look at the economics on the ground, because this goes with every club, even the Premier League, it goes with economics, because the Premier League has a worldwide reach. The Premier League, every corner of the world. Everybody wants to be associated with the Premier League. Manchester United, all their deals, all their contracts is signed year after year. In fact, there are companies waiting to sign for Manchester United. Just imagine. There's competition for them, because why? It is a brand. It's all about brand.
It is a brand. You're right.
But in the context, why I'm putting this in the context, because I always say when the economics, Ghana, for example, let's just take Ghana, the Ghanaian league, for example, Hearts of Oak, Kotoko, the other leagues, the other clubs, sorry, they all have at least a foreign company sponsoring them. That I know. They've been sponsoring them when I was going to Ghana. I mean, I used to go there during the summer. I spent a week or two there before I go to Sierra Leone. Their leagues were, at that time, just coming up and they were shown on TV on Sundays and everything. So there was a whole package around it. So the Ghanaians have been about this. And there are foreign companies sponsoring these clubs. You understand?
Yes.
There have been private businessmen actually who were like the Abramovich of the club, if I could say that. But there are also companies, they build a company, a business model around it.
Yeah, Paul.
And I'm also encouraged because that's what Emmanuel Abdullah is saying.
Yeah, Paul.
The Premier League club now has to be registered as a company.
Yeah.
So you have to operate with a business model. You understand?
Right,
For example, Seratel, they just launched a $40 billion project yesterday to rebrand Seratel, to roll out the new system, telephone, landline, internet. Believe me, if a club plays, let's say, qualifies for a CAF competition whenever the ban is lifted, I think Seratel will say, okay, I mean, you have an international appeal. Let's sponsor. How many games are they going to play? Let's say, okay, they play home and away, 2 games abroad, or 3 games away international. Seratel will say, okay, for 1 game, let's say we'll give you 200 million on sponsorship. That is also economics for the club. You understand?
Right.
That will also rebrand because Seratel is trying to reach all 4 corners of the country now. They are rolling out the 40 billion Leone project. That's a huge economic investment. So if they can be associated with one club, let's say they will choose the club of their own liking, I think it's a good thing. And
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. The dynamics though behind that.
Africa, meanwhile, before the economic collapse, before Ebola, before things collapse, I think the president will reach out to them, or the Ministry of Economic Planning will reach out to them, the Ministry of Sports, say, hey, we started the league. What do you think? I mean, can you sponsor a team? I mean, let's have, and for communities, okay, we can still continue with community team. For example, Bo Rangers, the people of Bo will say, okay, we'll contribute for our team like we did before. We'll put something on the bar, and then somebody with the private investment will say, okay, we'll sponsor the team for 6 months. We'll take care of their feeding. We'll take care. So all these things, we have to really build, like I said, a structure around it, marketing, like you said, because all the clubs in the world, we don't have the resources.
Right.
The league has been there for 5 years, 4 or 5 years, so we don't have the resources.
I get that, Paul. Yeah. Mr. Oldfield.
Yes, sir. I'm listening to you guys. I'm following up so much because it's such an interesting situation right here. Trust me.
Yeah, this is an interesting situation, but what I was trying to drive at, even the issue of sponsorship, there has to be guarantees because Paul, you mentioned a company deciding to sponsor a team, and even though we have structures in place now when monies are disbursed and they're coming from the league board itself and saying, okay, we got this money from the government, we're going to dish out this much if you meet these benchmarks and things like that, and then players are guaranteed that they're paid. What my thing though is, over time, I guess complacency, comes into play, and then people get comfortable with themselves and what they're getting. What I'm trying to say basically is discipline. The issue of discipline. The issue of understanding that $250,000, which is I guess the equivalent of that 2 billion leones that was issued out. $250,000 is what I understand the exchange rate should have been, if it's that. Approximately. When invested correctly, because once again, one of the things I will say to you guys is, and of course the league out there, the league itself, and the league board listening, is that you're going to spend some of this money on the teams itself, the teams themselves. Yeah. What happens to a partnership with media to generate the excitement that you need out there? Are you going to spend on media, on people who are out there who are promoting the league for you? Because obviously, social media is all good. There's a limit to social media. There's a limit to social media, which means that it's only within a circle of people that you know that information is reaching. Only people within a certain WhatsApp group will get it. Even if a bunch of people end up sharing it, it doesn't go global, because at the end of the day, the English people are not going to be privy to seeing that. It has to come to a website that's global in stature. The Chinese people are not going to see that. Okay, the other people in Australia are not going to see that. So it's limited. That's the limitation of social media. That's why I was saying we'll talk about press. Now, that being the case, what is the guarantees that, or what are the partnerships that are being built